So we should be live now. Merry Christmas, everyone. This is our post-Santa-ing stream. The gifts are all under the tree at the stage, and so we're just kind of sitting back and chilling, I guess. And I don't know, I guess just wanted to have a live stream to see what was going on, to kind of spread holiday wishes. We're wearing ridiculous Santa hats. I'm going to take mine off. You going to keep yours on?
Yeah.
This even has a beard attached to it. Is this even going to fit me?
Yeah, here, hold on.
Is that,
there you go.
That looks horrifying.
It's an improvement. I think you should do the entire stream like this.
Like this? I look like a Muppet.
Sure.
Well, people think that I'm like a gnome or something, you know.
Can people hear us all right?
Yeah, I guess I should ask that first, right? I hope, yeah. I don't know. This is not particularly comfortable, but maybe I'll sit like this for a little bit. But you guys in the chat, if you guys are there, then you're gonna have to tell us that you can hear us. I think since they're reacting to the fact that
they can hear.
Oh, they can hear? Okay,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, people said this is nightmare fuel.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, great. I'll stay like this. Hey. Okay, well, we really didn't have any plan to talk about anything in particular, except just reflections on the new year. Obviously, I'm late getting my video out, but I should get it out in the next few days. That's kind of a constant state on my channel these days.
All right, so what do you have to be thankful for this Christmas season?
That's a Thanksgiving request. Come on.
Shit.
Oh.
What did you think of this last year?
That's a New Year's request. Okay, fine.
What do you want for Christmas? Even though it's too late.
Yeah, it's a little late for that.
I'll tell you what.
No discussion of how much you spent on Christmas, certainly.
Oh, I don't have to mention how much I spent. It's what I spent on.
Well, no, that's never mind. Let's change the topic here. We must reflect. Well, we should reflect on devout properties of the season, right? Obviously, you're playing at Mass tomorrow.
Correct.
Yeah.
Although no one can really attend Mass.
Yeah, I'll be watching it on live stream.
Yeah, it's going to be on radio for people to do drive-through communion, and it's also going to be live streamed. And I'm only allowed to play 4 Christmas carols. I can't play any filler. I can't play any mouse parts. I play piano and sing. I can't sing. No one can sing. So this is a very dreary Christmas.
Good Lord.
And with close relatives, we can't see any friends. No extended family, which might be a blessing in some instances. But this Christmas has been dry. I haven't seen my family in a year. So
we were going to have Christmas in Canada this year. That was the original plan.
That was the original plan. And whenever I go Christmas shopping or whatever, I start crying because it's a reminder that I can't see my family this year. So it's been hard. Could have been worse though, but we have each other. We have the house. We've got the baby.
At least it couldn't get any worse.
Yeah. Yeah, actually,
I don't know. It's pretty good. We have the tree behind us. That's kind of...
Yeah, we put our tree on the piano so that our toddler can't get at it because he's still putting everything in his mouth. So
I still look like a nightmare fuel. No,
we should trade because I'm not able to put on makeup today, so I'm really ugly, like particularly ugly.
We both have circles under our eyes. You literally want to wear the beard?
No, I changed my mind.
Okay.
Let my natural face be nightmare fuel for your guests.
Your natural face is beautiful, okay? And don't let anyone
say that.
Oh, I do have to say it, but it is true. And yes, Christ is born. It's not really Christmas here yet. This is more or less our countdown to the Christmas day, really, right? Because these things usually last for about 2 hours, right?
Yeah, hey, you did one last night with Millennial Woes.
Oh yeah, we talked about very dreary topics too.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Is this? Do you think I really should do people should vote in chat? They should vote 1 if they want me to do the entire live stream with this beard on, or 2 if they want me to take it off. Is this supposed to go over my... No, that even
Well,
looks
that's
worse.
silly. Yeah.
But here, it makes my nose look super big. Like...
Do not comply. This is mask.
Mask mandate. Well, I mean, I'm wearing a mask. I should just wear this mask as my COVID mask.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Well, we need something to talk about, so either the people in the chat can ask questions, or...
You know what I'm going to shoot off about, so I should probably keep my mouth shut.
Is this going to be Twitter rivalries with other female Twitter users?
Yes.
Yeah, let's... No.
Unless people in the chat want me to talk about
no, because we don't do female Twitter drama.
Okay.
You can do it on your channel if you want. But please don't.
Fine.
I see one is keep it on, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, we'll do it this way the entire time. That sounds fun. It's really ridiculous, though.
Yeah, with 20 minutes, you'll be like, oh, itchy.
No, I can keep this on the entire time.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think anyone will take me seriously, right? But
that's okay.
Hey, ho, 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 ho. I'm Santa distributist now.
I'm going to distribute all the gifts tonight.
And I have a big mouth. Blah, blah, blah. Dance for our amusement, monkey. Hey, we're here. We're entertainers. I'm not going to deny that, right? I mean, this is kind of a disaster stream, but okay.
Someone asked you to explain your title of your stream.
Well, it's post-Santing because we finished wrapping all the presents and putting them under the tree. This is the first year we've really had a tree and put presents underneath them for children to discover. And so this is post us being Santa. And
move over a little bit here. Do you see this stack of presents right there? That's for him.
Oh, she got taken advantage of by a salesperson. But okay, let's...
I said no, but I really meant yes.
This stream's coming down.
Yeah. Come on, this is your stream. What did you want to talk about?
I thought people would be asking more questions personally.
They are.
But that's...
What do you think of people calling Christmas Saturnalia?
That's kind of fedora cringe, to be quite honest. I mean, once you understand that all human traditions have an evolutionary even it's sort of smart aleck Sunday school stuff that the atheist midwits use to kind of like put Christians in their place. Oh, you're not celebrating Christmas, you're celebrating Saturnalia, because Saturnalia was a pagan holiday celebrated typically in winter. Therefore, since perhaps, we don't know, certain qualities of that religious ceremony might have carried over to Christmas, we can say that, oh man, you're just following along a myth you don't even understand. I don't know. That's kind of... is that even a very serious question?
Thoughts on Wojak finally being subverted?
Is this the whole is this the whole Black Twitter versus the Wojak thing? There was this whole thing where like Black Twitter got a hold of the Wojak and started making the Black Wojaks and kind of putting across cringy BLM style takes with the Wojak. You know the Wojaks.
Yeah, you taught me all about the Wojak.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was going to happen eventually, right? Memes have this lifestyle. I remember there's this whole thing. The first internet meme I remember participating in. Okay, I'm really dating myself now, but prepare for a Christmas flashback. This is Dave encountering the ghost of Christmas past, bringing him back to the early days of the internet. And in the early days of the internet, young ones, there was this meme, one of the first internet memes called "All Your Base Are Belong to Us," which was a stupid techno song written by a group called the Laziest Men on Mars. It wasn't even their funniest song. That was the Invasion of the Gabber Robots. But it was basically a parody of a mistranslated Japanese video game. And for about 2 months, all of the cool kids who basically had strong internet connections and access to image boards incorporated all your base, our belong to us humor into everything they did. And people thought this would never get old, but of course it did. And eventually everyone started doing it to death until you saw that all your base are belong to us memes in the stupidest possible stuff. And it quickly died after that. So no meme is forever, and the Wojaks were bound to be hijacked by people who were going to use them for cringe politics. We've known that since the earliest days of the internet. Fashion is a fickle thing.
Can you explain in more detail the phrase "the good, the beautiful, and the true"?
Okay. Well, the good, the beautiful, and the true are. Okay. Well, I'm sort of spitballing here, but the idea is that there are three components of what we ordinarily would consider to be teleology. So Aristotle talked about teleology being so every object has sort of an explanation for why it exists, in the sense that you can explain, for instance, why this microphone came about by the idea of who made it, right? Or if you want to get more technical about it, you could talk about the chemical components and how they came into existence with the Big Bang, and how a set of physical conditions caused this microphone to be formed via biological evolution. Okay, fair enough. But in another sense, according to Aristotle, objects have teleological properties, which is that all objects have things that they're intended for. Sort of what Aristotle called, and this is a translation, a final cause. Now, when we talk about final causes, when we talk about what ultimately things are for, what ultimately the universe is for, what ultimately the human soul is for, we usually talk in terms of three things: truth, goodness, and beauty. These are sort of ends in themselves and the final intention that we move towards. Human beings do actions to pursue the true, the good, and the beautiful. And that's the good that all actions are designed for, and in essence, the vocation that all human lives are designated for, in a rough sense. And in the sense, the true and the good and the beautiful, in the Christian tradition, at least since Thomas Aquinas, have been associated with the identity of God. Notice that the true, the good, and the beautiful, none of these are scientific concepts. There's not really a scientific concept of truth. There are scientific observations, and then there's a scientific process, and there are scientific facts once the confidence reaches a certain threshold. But truth, in the sense that we mean it, in the broad sense, that is much more a philosophical and a metaphysical concept than something like facts. Do I look ridiculous explaining this in a Sanic?
No, someone just commented that it's funny because your lips don't move when you talk. So
maybe I can talk in an exaggerated way.
You just hear the voice coming, but your face is just kind of wooden. So.
Well, I mean, I'm speaking behind the stupid mask, and the vote was for me to keep this on, right?
Well, deal with it. Okay. Oh, that phrase really means shit this season, doesn't it?
Deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, people have been saying it all the time. Oh, someone said we should kiss.
Do you want to kiss the sand? No, we don't kiss on stream. That's. I mean, I find PDAs to be kind of distasteful, so I think that's kind of. I don't like that precedent. Let's move on to the next question.
Hold on.
Are you gonna? Oh, okay.
There. Okay. Well, we don't want to be vulgar.
For a minute there, I was worried that he might try something to really embarrass me.
You don't trust me.
Oh, I trust you. I better trust you at this stage.
Yeah. Let's see. Sharon, do you have any fond Christmas memories, Dave?
Fond Christmas memories.
Well, what are your thoughts on our idealist philosophy? And do we have a mouse so we can scroll up and down the questions? Sure. Sorry, we'll talk about the fond Christmas memories, but I skipped over someone's question.
You don't have to answer ones that are super chats. That are just at replies. You can just take them or leave them.
Oh, yeah, right. This isn't my stream. You get to
well,
ask.
this is my stream.
Yeah, you get to ask questions for free on my stream.
No, this is my stream. We're streaming on my channel.
Go on.
What does that mean?
Continue, please. Answer questions.
The question about fond Christmas memories?
Sure. Answer about fond Christmas memories.
Strangely enough, the fond Christmas memories I have were all in Montreal, or most of them were in Montreal, because we always used to go to Montreal to visit my grandparents. And that's how we encountered snow for the first time. And it was like a different world. And I guess it was a different world because everyone spoke French. But yeah, I always remember, in addition to the snow, which I really liked playing in, and it was, you rarely saw snow in California. The other thing I really liked about Montreal was the fact that my grandparents had a basement, and I loved the basement. I loved hanging out in the basement. It felt like a different world to me. And I don't know, for some reason, my fondest Christmas memories are always me playing in the basement, with or without the toys I got that Christmas. My family wasn't particularly religious, so that wasn't a big component of it, but God, I look ridiculous. But I don't know, that house, that apartment building, and Montreal, that probably is a large amount of my Christmas memories as a child.
Cool. Someone asked
What about you?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't have any particular fond Christmas memories, except I'm the youngest of several children, and I loved waking up every morning and the entire living room was full of gifts, and I would never hear Santa drop them off at night. I always fell asleep. And my sister and I used to stay up at night listening really hard out the window to see if we can hear Santa's sleigh bells and see if we can hear his reindeer. And of course, I grew up in Canada, so we always had snow for Christmas. And I don't know, Santa was really good to me. I always got what I wanted except the pony. I asked for a pony for like 15 years. I never got a pony.
You still asked for a pony.
I still asked for a pony, and Santa has not delivered. I've been really fucking good. I want a pony, Santa. Give me a pony. Anyway,
I think that's gonna have to come with a ticket outside of densely populated areas.
That's fine. That will go with the next question, which someone asked that I want you to answer. But anyway,
we've got some super chats building up too.
Yeah.
But go ahead. What's the next question?
Someone, their friend wants to leave Southern California and they want to move to Northern Idaho, but he's trying to convince his friend that no matter where you go, you're not going to be able to avoid the global homo thing.
I mean,
so what do you say to that?
That's true.
Okay.
I guess the idea is that in a red state, you'll be able to politically organize against it more effectively. And that might be the case because the political organization of Team Blue is a lot less effective in red states. I have two opinions about this. The first thing is that I always found red activism or red state activism against globo homo. I really hate that term. Eventually I'm going to make a video trying to reclaim that word in a more meaningful way. But red state activism against blue state power and culture has been really radically ineffective. And this has to do in no small part because red America is less culturally nimble than blue America. It lives further away from the production of culture, and therefore it always seems like it's using yesterday's technology. And as such, it always feels like the most effective reactionaries come from blue areas. I don't know why, but that always seems like a component of it. So there's that problem. And there's also the problem that when you're in a red area, there's a lot of complacency that builds up. There are a lot of red state communities that have really lazy churches and unorthodox congregations because they're not aware of the world they live in. They think that things are just going to proceed as normal. And so they get complacency, and complacency builds up over the course of the complacency builds up when you're comfortable. Maybe that complacency is going to be gone. Maybe things are going to change. So I don't think it's a bad idea necessarily, but it's you're not going to be able to outrun the blue state power or whatever we want to call it, wokeism, by fleeing to a red state in its entirety. The wokeism is transmitted through institutions like HR departments, which exist everywhere. So unless you escape from the employment cycle altogether, you're going to be subject to that, most likely.
Okay, well, why don't we start with the super chat?
Well, do we want to start from the absolute beginning? Because, okay, here we go. Can you read them?
Sure. Ethereal Dance for £10 says, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Well, Merry Christmas,
Merry
everyone.
Christmas.
We're being very festive, I guess.
Brendan for 25 says, Tonight I attended my first Mass with my mother. It was a marvelous experience. God bless you all. Best wishes for 2021. It's amazing. The first Mass I went to was with my sister-in-law when I was 17 years old. And it was in May. It was very beautiful. I never forgot it. What I loved most about it was the consecration. And as someone who didn't know much about Catholicism, seeing the priest say the words and holding up, the host there's something about it that was very mysterious and very moving. And I had to know so much about it that's the day I decided to become Catholic. And here I am.
So I'd actually, since I didn't have a religious family, but my grandfather and grandparents were religious. So we sporadically attended masses when I was very young. So I don't really remember my first mass, so to speak. But I do remember my first Latin mass, even though I'm not a Latin mass person right now. And it was really recent. I think it was in 2012 in Seattle. Or 2013, I forget. 2013, I think. And that night, the power had gone out across the entire city. And, I was going up to the cathedral that this was at, and it was pitch black. And I was just being shuffled in with a bunch of shadowy figures. And because this was an amazing parish, we just decided to roll with it and light candles all up and down the pews and just carry on that way through the entire Mass. So it was a Latin Mass, totally candlelit. I had no idea what the cathedral looked like.
Oh.
Eventually we got married in that cathedral, but I had no idea what it looked like. So all I was seeing was the contours of this gigantic building through candlelight. I didn't even know what the exterior looked like.
Oh, wow.
And in the meantime, as you were experiencing this, you had an understanding of what was going on because you knew of the Mass in vernacular. But it was a totally mysterious process. It felt like you walked into some kind of fantasy version of a ceremony that you knew vaguely in its vernacular form.
Isn't it amazing how mystery attracts? Mystery attracted me.
Yeah.
And the mystery of what you saw at the Dark Cathedral attracted you. I think that's beautiful.
It was a beautiful experience, but it didn't really change me. That had nothing to do with my conversion to Catholicism, which was years earlier.
Yeah.
Right. And furthermore, even though I felt that experience was very beautiful, it wasn't particularly repeatable. And we're not Latin Mass Catholics now, right? We're just boring old Novus Ordo Catholics. So, but I'll say this: Novus Ordo or Latin, the Christmas vigils are always something that are very special. Yeah. Well, in 2020 there aren't any Christmas vigils anymore, so
no, there was
no thing they were giving up.
There was no midnight mass this year at my parish, so. All right, Society Man for $5. The new radicalized Wojak, racialized. The new racialized Wojak is so sterile looking compared to the original. It looks like a Barbie doll. It's impossible to get weird and creative outs.
Well, yeah, it did feel like the Wojak lost something, didn't it? And I haven't really been on Twitter for the last few days all that much. Kind of fired off a tweet here and there, but I haven't looked at what's trending at all on my feed. But the black Wojaks are, they're kind of like, they're idealized versions of what the people tweeting them out wish they looked like, which was always kind of not the Wojak. I suppose there's a little bit of that in the trad girl Wojak, but I always felt like, and one of my favorite memes is the goth girl Wojak and the trad girl Wojak. Doing something, and then the men doing something. That joke always cracks me up.
Would you consider the racialized Wojak as a sort of reverse, if you will, cultural appropriation?
I don't. I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's. I am by cultural appropriation. You just mean that the piece of culture has gotten so popular that it's lost its cachet and it's being used universally. I mean, I suppose.
Do you even believe in cultural appropriation?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
But I
that's
mean,
the
the
thing.
phenomenon of things that are exclusive becoming cliche after they're overused. That's a real phenomenon.
Yeah.
If you wanted to express, maybe that's what these other cultures are trying to express when they get angry at people for quote unquote cultural appropriation, right? They want to, what they mean is this was something that we had amongst ourselves and meant something as being overused. I feel if they said that as opposed to cultural appropriation, then maybe we could do more to get a good language around this stuff. You're right. This is getting a little itchy.
I knew it.
It's fine though. It's fine. But I will say this. I don't know. And actually, speaking of cultural appropriation, a lot of the specialness of Christmas has kind of been worn thin by its overuse in popular culture.
Well, with overuse, you lose the original meaning of it, right?
Well, absolutely. And, if you look at Christmas carols that come from the 19th century, like the Holly and the Ivy, and you compare them to idiotic Christmas carols that come from the 1950s, like Frosty the Snowman. I mean, even things I like Jingle Bell Rock, which is a fun little song. And it gets worse. I think the last Christmas carol we ever had was Mariah Carey's "All I Want for Christmas Is You."
Oh.
But the more modern ones just seem kind of like Hallmark commercial, or they're deliberately satirical, and they don't have sort of the Holly and the Ivy and King Wenceslaus and all of these other ones.
Hark the Herald Angels Sing.
Yeah.
Kind of
They all have this deep sincerity to them that's really unmistakable, and that's why people like it so much. We have a piano behind us.
Yeah, if you have any requests for carols, just let me know and I'll play it once over for you. I have a whole list of them.
But we have to be really, really careful because we also have a sleeping baby.
Yeah, if the baby wakes up, then it's just like game over for that.
Yeah, it might cut. I think that we should play one carol to end the stream.
I think that's good. And you all vote which one you want to hear.
Yeah, that's the best one to do.
Okay.
I think that's the way to do it. I wish we had a way. Oh shoot! I forgot to set up entropy again.
Entropy? Oh.
It's the alternative to Google. I don't know how people do this.
Idiot.
I seriously don't know how other YouTubers do this. I feel at this stage between work and family and this kind of side gig, I feel like my brain's gonna fall flat on my head. Maybe it's just me getting senile in my old age. I'm not that old, and don't give specific ages because okay.
We're
I'm in my
going
30s.
to embarrass you.
Oh yeah, I know that's your job, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, oh god, it looks so ridiculous here.
Well, let's go back to the next question.
Super chats?
Yeah. What do you make of double A's? From Ryan. What do you think of double A's continued analysis of the election? Is it not time to call it and move to more productive endeavors?
Well, I mean, I was kind of done with the election after it happened.
I think you're done with it before it happened.
I was done with it before it happened, to be quite honest. To me, it was honest that... I mean, it was honest that there were going to be some amount of shenanigans in play. Now, again, I don't know if there are more shenanigans that occur on any ordinary election year. And to be quite honest, I'm not even so sure why there's moral legitimacy attached with this number. Like, 270 electoral votes, like, if you have that, you rule. If you don't, you have absolutely no power. And we've invested these sort of weird statistical numbers with this moral property of rectitude. I just, I understand that perhaps from the view of AA, who is another fellow skeptic of democracy, he's using this as sort of a convenient narrative to attack the establishment's power base. But that doesn't work for me right now. Just emotionally speaking, I can't. I really don't want to be attacking the establishment on the back of something that I don't believe in, and what I don't believe in right now is elections. I don't believe in them, not just because there were shenanigans possibly in play this time. I don't believe in them because I don't even understand their logic or why they would confer moral legitimacy to begin with. Or what does it mean to even have moral legitimacy in a nation that doesn't believe in objective morality, quite obviously? So it just sort of feels like a farce. And I understand that you just want to you want to make your team win. You want to make sure that your side has power, and that's a very fair emotion and a very real emotion. But I don't see how me personally can move the needle in any of that. If there is going to be some Caesarean moment, it's going to begin and end inside an inner circle among elites that I'm simply not privy to. I can do analysis of events, and I can talk about developments that I'd like to see, and I think I can give people advice and pointers in the process of what I think we should all be doing, which is asking ourselves how we can build things better in the future and avoid being crushed by powerful people who might see us as a liability to their own power or plans. But I don't see how hoping and talking about some kind of Caesarean moment is necessarily going to bring it about. It kind of feels cargo cultish to me, to be quite honest. And, it's not... Academic Agent's a good guy. Charlemagne's a good guy. I mean, probably he's a better guy than me. I just don't I'm just not emotionally where they are. And if someone wants to make a logical case about something I could do to affect the situation in a better way, I'm all ears. But again, I can't get on board a narrative that I don't believe in. To pursue some kind of long shot power play that doesn't even have me as a proper subject.
Well said. Next one?
Yeah.
Sure. Die Hard Dougie for $5. Merry Christmas, everyone. Movie of the Year recommendations. Watch The Duelist. Okay.
The Duelist? Wasn't The Duelist an older movie? Is that a
2020 movie?
Is that a 2020 movie? I thought.
Do you want to bust out the phone and find out?
Am I thinking of some older movie about like a set of Russian duelists? Do you have your phone handy?
No, hold on.
Okay, well then don't worry about it if it's not here.
Oh.
I
have a broken tailbone.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're all injured. Well, thank you very much, Die Hard Doogie. I'll have to check that out. We saw barely any movies this year, didn't we?
Yep. Hello. Okay, do you want to read the next one?
Okay. Well, you'll tell me if there's another movie that sounds like The Duelist that's...
Nerve AMV Maker. Merry Christmas, Dave. Was J. Edgar Hoover the cathedral's greatest enemy? He seemed to be the most effective actor to use their tactics against them. It would explain why he's the most demonized figure in the 20th century America.
Oh, well, I guess. I mean, these people... I mean, you could have just as easily said... So J. Edgar Hoover was the director of the FBI in the 30s, I believe. And he was quite a power player. The Duelist, a 2016 film. Okay. Well, I'll have to check out The Duelist. But you could have just as easily said General Patton, right? Or perhaps even is it Admiral MacArthur? All of these sort of hard military and law enforcement types that were still in place inside the New Deal era government fixtures. These people were all huge enemies of the cathedral. The cathedral had them in place because the cathedral knew that it needed them. FDR's brain trust knew that they needed to have the top brass in charge of the military and in charge of the crime enforcement. But they couldn't, but they were total ideological opposites. And a lot of people like J. Edgar Hoover and to a lesser degree Patton and MacArthur made serious power plays in the direction of the cathedral itself, and sort of threatened to take political power away from them in a big way. I think they were ultimately defeated in the 50s. A lot of them, like Patton, just died. MacArthur had some serious political setback after Korea, and MacArthur, that is. I can't remember what happened to him ultimately, but he was never able to gain political prominence the way that Eisenhower was. Eisenhower obviously being the more friendly. Eisenhower was the more friendly Republican general to the interests of the New Deal era government. I don't know. I mean, what tactics did they? I'm not even so familiar with specific tactics they used. I knew that they were ideologically opposed, but I think you'd have to be more specific about that. I'm gonna have to take this off, or
I'll take mine off too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'll take it. Oh, okay. You don't need to scratch my.
You have some fuzzies.
Oh, I have some fuzzies?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay.
You look worse. Put the mask back on.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry I couldn't keep that up.
You failed your audience.
Yeah, I failed my audience. I should have been a Muppet for the entire time. But this is much better. I can actually kind of read the screen and actually have facial reactions at this stage.
Hey, your mouth is moving.
Yeah, hey, I'm not actually a Muppet. Who knew? Although, I don't know, sometimes I feel like a Muppet these days.
Next.
Did we answer the question about J. Edgar Hoover?
And why is he's the most demonized figure in 20th century America?
To me, J. Edgar Hoover is just one of a bunch of people that were demonized and that were sort of anti-cathedral in the 30s. And I don't know enough about J. Edgar Hoover to say that he had a better plan than the other ones, or he was more of a thorn in the side than the other ones. So, I don't know. I'm regret I can't answer that better, but that's my take, I guess.
Okay, next, Alex Tremo del Norte. Hello, what do you think about JYIUWS?
What? Is he asking me about the
Jewish people?
You can't say that word, Helen.
No?
That's a gamer word.
What do you call them?
I just say the Jews. But,
well,
I have no opinion about specific ethnicities.
No, you it's better to have opinions about specific people and what specific people say, but once you overgeneralize,
Okay, well, that's sort of the neocon take. We can see race in reactionary circles. We're not blind.
I'm a neocon. Oh God.
Well, no, not a neocon.
I'm your shame.
No. I'm just saying that you come from more of a normie conservative background than I do, right?
Carry on.
I think it's true, right? Okay. Well, this is a train wreck of a stream. People know that I can't answer this question, right? Like, even if I did have politically incorrect opinions, the only opinion I could say on YouTube that wouldn't get this channel a strike would be positive. So unless you want to talk positively about this group, I'm certain a super chat's not worth a channel. So I don't know. I think that altogether the right is way too obsessed with particular ethnic groups. I mean, it used to be that you couldn't talk to a right winger without getting an earful about Muslim this and Muslim that and terrorist this and terrorist that. And I agree there are a lot of conflicts we have with these other groups that come up periodically. But these groups are not the source of our problems. The source of our problems is us. And that's where the energy needs to be placed, always. If there was a consolidated political force to advance the interests of Christendom, I really believe a lot of these problems with these bad actors would more or less go away because they're only being opportunistic. And how can you blame anyone for being opportunistic in a Machiavellian sense? I don't see how you can. Do you need to check on baby?
Yeah, I'm going to go check on the offspring. I'll be right back.
Okay, so so kit for £5. What's your opinion on the new vaccine? What's your opinion on the new vaccine? Any advice on convincing normie relatives not to take it? Well, I mean, my opinion is that if you're a young person, well, just wait and see what's going to happen with this new vaccine. I don't think that the vaccine's poison. I don't think that the vaccine's going to cause your brain to fall out. And I think if you're a high-risk person, then it might be worth taking the vaccine. You know, if you're an old person who's in contact with this disease. But I think everyone else should just hang back and wait for this to get more testing. Someone's asking me, what's your opinion on the vaccine and how you get your normie relatives not to take it?
Well, there's
kind of a leading question.
Yeah, well, there's some misinformation, I should say, about the vaccine. I think they call it an RNA vaccine or something. People are saying that it's going to change your DNA. It's never been used on humans before, but it has. The Ebola vaccine, which took over 6 years of development, is now in use in Africa, 95 to 100% effective. And that vaccine's been used like a lot. And
yeah, but this has been rushed, right? And this is, you know, some people are having adverse allergic reactions. And I've heard that.
What kind of reactions?
It's nothing particularly unusual.
Is it similar to allergic reactions people might get from the Ebola vaccine because of the style vaccine?
I would imagine it's similar, but
I don't know, like so many people are like, it's all used from aborted fetal cells, and people are like, it's not used from aborted fetal cells. But the thing is, I'm worried I won't be able to go back to my home country and see my family unless I have the vaccine, right? And that kind of holds a bit of power over me. It keeps me in a grip. And I don't know. And I don't know.
Well, I just don't want anybody to, you know, my advice is to do your research and play the numbers, right? And if you're part of an at-risk group, I think the numbers are pro-vaccine on balance. I have never heard a reason not to play the numbers if you're in an at-risk group. So, I don't know, maybe there's a case against that, right? Moving on, Aristocratic Owl for $20. Wow, thank you. Hey Dave, Merry Christmas. 2 questions for you. First, should we connect with conservative institutions like Hillsdale? And do you have tips for becoming worthy for power? What did your wife super chat you on the MW live stream? I think you said something like, 2 good-looking guys discussing politics. Merry Christmas.
No. I said the distributist is the sexiest man alive. Woes, you're not bad either. Merry Christmas.
Oh.
And that's when you're like, you don't have to say that out loud, Woes. And he laughed, and he's like, oh, shining words she used for you.
Okay, well.
Yeah, I troll. I'm bored. This lockdown needs to end.
I'm tired more than bored. But
yeah, I think that's probably true too. I just wanted a little bit of a.
So that's kind of fun. It's funny that person asked this, the Aristocratic Hour, because my next video is on personal life advice for people in their 20s. So I guess I already been recording it. I'm just trying to get the video edited. So I'll probably release that before the New Year's. And I think that's where we really have to move. That might answer your question. If it's something more than just, okay, I mean, how should I put this? Ordinarily, humans organize around people, around people who they think are powerful and who actually live lives worthy of living. And I think the biggest weakness of the left right now is that they're incapable of producing people that don't have really squalid lives. You could not pay me enough money to live the life that ContraPoints is currently living. you couldn't pay me enough money to live the life that Vosh is currently living.
Oh,
Yeah, and they're very successful in a sort of social. They're much more successful than me on a social media sense. This channel doesn't earn very much money. I don't have very many subscribers, and it probably imminently will get taken off the air by YouTube. So there's that. But the one advantage, the advantage we do have is that we can demonstrate as much as possible lives. There's something glamorous about our life, right? We're just doing the standard middle class thing. Put the presents under the tree, and now we're just winding down, right? Because there's nothing else to do. But in some ways that's powerful, because so much of the contemporary media doesn't focuses on people who are, quite frankly, spiritually, emotionally, philosophically, and sometimes even physically unhealthy. And I think a lot of times we've been taught in our youth, especially when I was a teenager, and I think Owen Cyclops, the webcomic, made fun of this. We're kind of taught to scoff at the middle class lifestyle, the middle class bourgeoisie lifestyle that was kind of held up as normal. A big video when I was in I think it was more junior high, was the movie Pleasantville, which was sort of a scoffing look at suburbia in the 1950s. And this is sort of the idea that these middle class existences were stupid and for dumb people and for people with no imaginations. And if you wanted to live the higher life, you would live one of these alternative lifestyles that would mark you out as one of the elites. And I think increasingly what we see is that when such a sizable portion of the population essentially pursues alternative lifestyles, or is unable even to achieve middle class lifestyles because the economic needs have been cut out from under them, then the quote unquote alternative lifestyles don't hold up, and the inherent power and worthiness of the bourgeoisie lifestyle sort of shines through. Now, this is not to say that you should pursue the middle class lifestyle. In some sense, you should, because it's better usually than the alternatives. But I think the economic means to get there are slowly or quickly, perhaps quickly in 2021, quickly disappearing. But at the same time, taking whatever you can from that lifestyle and then building something new that resembles that will be more valuable than this diving in with 2 feet into the Bugman lifestyle. There's something admirable about the Bugman lifestyle. There's something worthy about the Bugman lifestyle. So becoming worthy of power, in some sense, is just making your lifestyle something that you would want to emulate, honestly emulate, and not just because you're affecting or copying somebody else. And I know there's sort of I'm getting sort of into fine distinctions that I can't quite get to in the course of this live stream, but yeah. What are you looking at?
Twitter. I'm here if you need me.
Do you want to look at the black Wojaks and get your reaction?
Oh, sure. I've never seen a black Wojak before. Let's have a boo.
Oh, boy.
Gosh.
I chickened out on the Santa thing.
Black Wojak. What? Which one's which?
Which one's black? Oh, let's see.
No. I mean, I thought this would have been considered a black Wojak.
No, they mean African American Wojak. They don't mean the depressed Wojak.
Oh. You mean, let's see here.
Okay, don't dox yourself.
I don't have any of my information here.
Okay, well, I'm always... Yeah, that's the ones they mean.
Oh, this! Oh.
Yeah, well, that's what's been circulating on Twitter for the last few days, apparently.
Well, why are they doing that?
Because they're trying to own white people, and Wojaks were popular with the cool crowd, or not really the cool crowd, but the edgy crowd. So they thought, well, in order to be edgy, we can put stupid ideas with Wojaks, and then they'll become edgy and fresh. And that's not how things work. Just like, repeating all your base are belong to us with no context doesn't make you funny. It took a lot of people a long time to realize that in high school. But I digress. I can't read, Helen. Can you read the text
Sure.
out that small?
So that was Molemos. Zero Kev 499. It's hilarious how many of the Ossipulch memes are mocking white progressives.
Can you slow down?
Sure.
Is my brain malfunctioning?
Or did we already read this one? It's
No.
hilarious how many of the hostile black Wojak memes are mocking white progressives who shout BLM and all cops are bastards.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of, I mean, in some sense, that's nice to see, right? Mm-hmm. Well, it's because white progressives who shout BLM and ACAB are idiots, and everyone knows they're. And this is sort of goes to the aristocratic owls question. What's manifestly apparent is that white progressives are unworthy of power. And so I guess the first step to becoming worthy of power is to not repeat the mistakes of white progressives. And why is Black Lives Matter and all caps are bastards pathetic? Well, it's because they obviously don't mean them. They're lies that are meant to... Well, people mean Black Lives Matter because it's a tautology, right? But people who yell Black Lives Matter like it's a radical statement aren't actually radicals. And people who say ACAB don't actually mean it and are lying so that they can seem edgy. And so white progressives who put themselves in this position are obviously being sycophantic. They're being simpering sycophants to the seat of power. They're trying to hop on a fad, transparently so, and they're misrepresenting what they really are, which is people of the status quo, and they're not edgy radicals. And so it's in the nature of everyone, even people who are politically aligned with white progressives, to naturally strike at them, because the prospect of being ruled over by an unworthy person is a prospect that offends any sane person. And so I guess in that sense, the sort of the black Wojak memes have hit on sort of a root of truth. Unfortunately, I think their use of the Wojak also kind of displays the same kind of bandwagon jumping that they're also decrying in the white progressive shouting ACAB. So I don't know. Do you have an opinion on this?
No.
This is the problem with doing these late night streams. It's been a long day, right? It's been a long day.
Yeah.
This is just life. When you're in the position in life we're at, like at the end of the day, you're just like tired. Because you get up early, right? I mean, it isn't even when you're on vacation, right? Like the baby has a schedule, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's but I used to be able to stay up till all hours.
Yeah, pulling all-nighters and stuff.
Oh, good Lord.
I
pulled an all-nighter for the last step of my PhD thesis, and I hope to never, ever do that again. That's the last.
I remember that.
Yeah.
We were just married.
Yeah, never again.
Is it Die Hard Doogie or Die Hard Dougie?
I always say Die Hard Doogie. If it's Die Hard Dougie, then I've been mispronouncing it for over a year.
For $5, thank you. I would never recommend a modern movie. It was made in 1977.
Is there another movie called The Duelist made in 1977? I was convinced that there was an old movie called The Duelist.
We found the 2016 movie. But
perhaps it's like is this based on a Russian 19th century novel called The Duelist? It sounds like something that Gogol would write or something like that, right?
My trusty
this
electrical
is
collar.
the second Russian movie called The Duelist. I was positive that there's a movie from the 70s.
The Duelist.
Squinting to read Ryan for $5.
Have you seen Yarvin's latest? What do you think about economic policy being the solution, i.e. artificial difficulty?
Artificial difficulty is eventually going to have to be part of the solution. I hate to say this, but our dopamine receptors are being hardcore gamed by the system, by systems of control that our elites are using. And at some stage, we're going to have to walk away from this soma, or we're going to be totally, totally consumed by it. Here's an example. And people, for everyone who says that like artificial difficulty isn't a thing, why isn't regular heroin consumption a part of your existence? Because if your existence is all about pleasure and not advancing in life, and you could take heroin in doses that would allow you to recover from the experience, which you can. Why is heroin not considered a healthy drug to take in moderation? Well, that's because the use of heroin destroys your taste for other things and destroys your focus on other more important things. So not encouraging people to take heroin is a form of artificial difficulty. You're denying people pleasure for I'll say quote unquote artificial reason that you want them to actually live productive lives. We say artificial difficulty this is the thing. My one objection to artificial difficulty is the name artificial difficulty. Human beings have imposed limitations on themselves since the Bronze Age. The idea that this is something new is, to my mind, ridiculous. We might have to do this to an extent that we haven't in the past. And I think the reason why people think this is something new is that for the first time since the Industrial Revolution, we might actually have to say no to a technological innovation that promises all sorts of wonders to us. I haven't read Yarvin's latest 2 entries just because I've been really tired. But I do remember the one about artificial difficulty, and that one was a really good one. Are you gonna play your piece?
No, I'm preparing it.
Okay, so what songs do you have that could be sung at the end of this?
Sorry, do you want to continue answering the question? Or are you done?
Well, if you want people to put in the chat what they want.
Right? All right. We have in the options Silent Night, A Little Town of Bethlehem. That's not it. O Come All Ye Faithful. Angels We Have Heard on High, Away in a Manger. What else we got here? Once in Royal David City. Yep. We have Hark the Herald Angels Sing. Joy to the World. What Child Is This? We Three Kings, which is more of an epiphany. And that's it.
That's why I never hear We Three Kings as an epiphany.
You never hear it at Epiphany?
No, no one celebrates Epiphany in this culture. So.
Oh, true.
So The Duelists was based on a Joseph Conrad story, apparently. Iron Duke says that. So
okay. Thank
you very much for the clarification. That was eating at me a little bit. But yeah, maybe we can play it, just before midnight to welcome in Christmas.
Sure. You think this
is that too?
It's not too late.
And when we have no one's going to hear us, so we're too far away, right? And it's not too late. I just really don't want to. We have a soft pedal, right?
I have a soft pedal on the piano. Okay. Yeah.
So, sure, it should work. Okay. I think that's a classy way to bring in Christmas, right? I feel so exposed in the stream because I'm so dog tired.
Society Man for $5. Dave, any thoughts on the recent CDC presentation that claimed that one reason not to prioritize the over 65s for the vaccine was their whiteness?
Oh, yeah. Oh God, I remember that.
Yeah, that was awful.
Oh, and it's the CDC too. I don't know what to say. It's just these things. We've accumulated so many of them in 2020. Just these moments where your jaws is dropping open and going, what is going on here? Are these people insane? And, what I guess the more depressing thing I have is, and so just to clarify what Society Man's talking about, is that there was an internal memo or perhaps even an announcement, I guess it's a presentation inside the CDC, about how the policy for distributing the vaccine should prioritize people of color over whites, even potentially at-risk white groups, because white privilege is already so much of a privilege that giving them a vaccine early would lead to inequity. This is cruel, it's bigoted, it's stupid. It goes against every one of the professed values we were supposed to believe in post civil rights. But I feel like I've heard a bunch of them, right? I feel like 2020 has just been full of these little tidbits of institutional bigotry and stupidity and madness. And I guess the only thing is, I felt at some stage, in 2019, I felt that there could be a critical mass of these pieces of idiocy that would cause people to turn against the system and seriously question its legitimacy. But I'm not so sure I believe that anymore. It seems like no matter what happens, people are going to keep on in the political mode that they started in. Maybe the end of Trump will signal a sea change in this. Maybe, once that big flashy object is taken off the board, people will turn around and expect institutions to behave normally, and then suddenly they won't. There's no way the wokeness is going to go back into the bottle, though. I believe, and ultimately it does hurt it. Ultimately being bigoted, this is something that I think the alt-right never understood. There's this classic mistake people make where they confuse stupid things you can get away with because you're powerful for things that make you powerful. So this is the classic cause and effect thing, right? So poor people do this a lot. So they'll see rich people who have bad habits like gambling or in the case of the 60s, somewhat sexually promiscuous lifestyles early, or possibly early drug use. And the elites can do these things, and even after they do these stupid actions, somehow they're still elites after they do them. And poor people go, oh, well, these must be either smart or fashionable or something that leads to power. No, they're stupid and they're destructive, and the only reason why the rich can do them, the only reason why the rich can indulge in them, is because they have enough money to cover their ass when things eventually blow up in their faces. And poor people don't, and so when poor people try them, they get ruined. And a lot of mistakes from the 60s onward have been due to this process. The same thing is true of outright bigotry. Outright bigotry is something that the elites can get away with because they're powerful, but it's generally a stupid and discrediting thing. It's generally an ugly thing. And, here I use bigotry and not racism or wacism, because I'm trying to steer away from the coded, magical word. By bigotry, I just mean outright cruel prejudgment, apropos of nothing, and communicating basically a needlessly hateful relationship to certain groups. A lot of people in the Spencerian alt-right circa 2017 had this sort of cargo cult attitude towards bigotry. They're like, oh, well, because the elite can say this about white people, we should just say this about other groups. Bigotry is always stupid. And as the YouTuber R.N. McIntyre put it on Twitter, he said, I bet that the global media and academic community probably would have had another 20 or 30 years of life in it if it hadn't hopped on board this racial and LGBT identity stuff. This bigotry and stupidity is going to cost them longevity. It's going to cost them faith over the long term. I guess I'm a little bit disappointed that it's not costing them the faith of the people in a more immediate sense. But again, I mean, this is slowly going to bleed their credibility, and at some point, I think it's going to cost them power in an ultimate sense. But no one really knows when that is. It could be quite a long time. Any thoughts on this?
Nope.
I feel like we're in a pattern here.
Nope. Want to read the next one?
Squint.
Zood plays.
for $5. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I've been thinking a lot about incorporating rituals into secular governmental procedures recently. What symbolic procedures would you incorporate?
Into secular government?
Sign of the cross, I don't know.
Well, I mean, secular government, you couldn't possibly introduce religious practices because that would be plainly ruled illegal, correct? I have no idea I've never been in charge of a government body of any kind. I would assume that if you want to introduce ceremonies, you should borrow them from English common law. So if you go back to old, and there are old English common law is full of ceremonies, full of little formalities that were used to string the whole thing together. And I wouldn't be surprised if you went back to old practices of English lawyers. You could find a lot of these procedures, and they probably would be perfectly legal. Probably they've only been very recently discontinued. So I probably would look there. Obviously in my ideal world, law would be intimately connected in some sense to religious observance. But that's just not going to fly in the modern West. So it'll have to be something other than that. Yeah, I look to old lawyer practices and old practices of judges under English common law, and which can be incorporated in any governmental procedure and will probably be legal under the purview of being traditional. Even the gavel, right, is part of that tradition. You know how organizations have gavels? I mean, it makes absolutely no sense in the digital age, but they still exist, right? So,
that's a good point.
Yeah. It reminds me of the joke you said. I was chuckling about it for a while. Is that I read to Helen. This was back when we did our stream on Warhammer. I read to Helen the subtitle of Warhammer 40,000, which was "In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war." To which you answered, "In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war, and there are only hammers." Yeah. In the grim darkness of the far future, there are only hammers. Well, there are some hammers in that universe, but I love that.
Huge gavels. Yeah.
Huge gavels. Nancy Pelosi can be a character. She kind of's got a Necron thing going, you know.
Kind of.
Yeah. Okay. So pardon me. The Die Hard Doogie for $5. Harvey Keitel stars in the movie, and it's directed by Ridley Scott.
Oh no way.
Oh, Harvey Keitel. I haven't seen him in ages. What was the last movie you saw Harvey Keitel in?
Who's that?
He was in Reservoir Dogs as Mr. Yellow, I think, and he was in Pulp Fiction as the Wolf. And
who was the wolf?
He's the guy that in the last act, he's the guy that helps them dispose of the bodies. He's got like a thick Italian accent, and
I'm gonna have to look this guy up.
Okay, let me think of one of his lines. I don't know. He basically comes and helps them clean up the body when they shoot the guy in Pulp Fiction.
Him! No, he was in Taxi Driver.
You mean the one from 1978?
Yeah, he was the one who played the pimp.
But I asked what recent. I mean, he's been in tons of movies in the 70s. Yeah. It was Taxi Driver. What year? That wasn't 78. It was sometime in the 70s, though, right?
Yeah, it was the 70s. See, look, yeah, that's definitely him. Yeah, he was Taxi Driver.
I believe he's in the Taxi Driver, but he hasn't looked like he's been in many modern movies. So I guess I heard Doogie saying that he is in this
Duelist.
He's in this new movie, The Duelist, which may indeed be another rendition of the Joseph Conrad novel. Okay. Well, we'll certainly check that out. Jared Roberts for $20 American. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas, Distributist. Are you familiar with Nitzen and Bickler's Capital as Power? Thoughts as an alternative to modern overarching political theory. I'm not familiar with Nitzen and Bichlers. Is that really the guy's name, or am I misreading that?
Bichlers.
Bichlers? It can't. Bichler? It can't be Bitchler. That sounds too much like Bitch Hitler. Bitchler. Hey. I'm Adolf Bitchler. Okay, I'm sorry. It's late.
Adolfa Bitchler. I can call that Twitter girl that.
Okay, you're not. We're not starting knife fights with other right-wingers on my live streams. Thank you very much.
What if they're phony?
Well, then communicate to that on your own social media.
But no one watches my social media.
Helen, in war you fire on the other side. You don't fire on your own side.
No, this is not friendly fire.
This is the problem for... I'm sorry, I'm saying something sexist, but this is the problem. Women see all personal conflicts as political conflicts.
They are.
How would war ever... This is why women don't understand war. Like, war is about collective armies fighting each other. It doesn't matter if the person next to you is an asshole. It doesn't make them... Like, the guys you could be killing could
Women,
be way better.
Female aggression is just as necrotic and just as poisonous to any society as war could be, if unchecked.
And part of the way you check it is to make sure that the personal conflicts stay at a personal level and don't get elevated to a political level. Even the person you're named after, Helen of Troy, is the prime example of personal conflicts being improperly elevated to a political level.
I don't think so. Hold on.
QED. Take that. Okay. Distributors destroyed.
Wait. Because someone, if you believe they're on your side, but then they start fighting and pitting against you, does that not hurt the political cause? Does that not weaken your own group?
It does, but you don't use political means to address that issue unless it's absolutely necessary.
What's a political mean versus a personal mean?
Like, for instance, let's say that a general's wife has an affair, right? Mm-hmm. You know, you don't court-martial her and try her for treason, even if it does weaken your general and weaken you in battle. Because, I mean, you might punish her, you know, with specific laws geared towards adultery. Usually those consequences are social. But you don't say, oh, well, since this detracted from our political movement, we're going to use, you know, the tools of war to come after this woman who made a personal transgression.
But what if she's done this transgression to a whole lot of people?
It doesn't change the underlying fact that you have to use personal means to address personal issues and political means to address political issues. Like, we're starting a war over Helen, like a proper use of political... I mean, I guess maybe this is controversial. Maybe Homer believed that this was proper. But I do remember, at least in the Odyssey, I think, didn't Odysseus speculate that this was not... This is wobbly... that the whole Trojan War was somehow not just because it was an improper use of politics. I don't know. Okay, well, I don't know if I can survive that refutation.
No. Next. Okay, Simon Laplace.
Well, okay, but I should say, before we go on to the next one, I'll try to read that. Thoughts on alternative to modern overarching political theory. I mean, I think...
Though as an alternative modern overarching political theory, or thoughts. It spells those.
He means thoughts.
Okay.
I mean, I suppose, what's wrong with Machiavelli as a modern overarching political theory? I think the problem with Capital... Or the Marxist analysis is that they have a too limited understanding of power. They only see power as material power, and they ignore soft forms of power. That's a huge problem with Marxist political theory, and I'm not so sure that's the mistake that that Nitzen and Bichler are making, and now I can only see Bichler, but I would suspect that might be part of the problem. So I guess until I see an alternative to sort of the Pareto-Mosca view of power, or the Machiavellian overarching political theory, I feel that that's sort of the way that we need to go down and analyze politics in a completely realistic sense. Maybe I'm not picking up the nuances of that, but okay, I'll go on now. Simon Laplace for Hong Kong $25. How do you know if you found someone really special to settle down with in this times? She must be Catholic. How important are politics? Wow, that's a good question. I believe that having the same religion is pretty important. Starting as the same religion is not very important, but ultimately you and your spouse are going to be practicing a religion together. So usually one of the pair converts to the other person's religion. Or, I mean, I hate to say this because I think this is really unhealthy. One person agrees to downplay their religion because, like it or not, there's going to be a dominant religion in the household. I would say that for people coming from a broadly Christian perspective, I would suggest dating inside. I would suggest dating people who are either Christian or who come from a Christian background and who are agnostics. Don't date people who have strongly antagonistic religious views to your own. If you're Christian, don't date devout Muslims or devout atheists. And you know what I mean when I say devout atheists. Don't date hardcore feminists. Make sure that you try to meet people who are either of your worldview or who are open to your worldview, especially if you're a man, because you're probably going to be the person who directs the spiritual direction of the family. Politics in the sense that we meant politics in the 90s aren't important. Politics in the sense that we mean them now are important, because politics as we mean them now are basically a religion. When we talk about people who are wokies or who are hardcore leftists or Marxists, that's basically a religion. It operates like a religion. And so I would say it's not important who you vote for. What's important is the values. And don't date religious fanatics who are religiously fanatical in a religious tradition or in a religious tradition pretending to be a political tradition that you don't subscribe to. It's never going to work. And one of the biggest advantages I ever had dating is just to not date a hardcore progressive.
When a person's fanatical, they can't see a human being in front of them, right?
Yeah, I mean, increasingly that's
they see threats to their ideology, or they see someone who bolsters their ideology. They don't have any flexibility to allow the other person to be their own person and for them to still appreciate that. And also this is always the problem though, because sometimes women are like, I'm a feminist, and they mean, oh, I don't really care, I just saw feminism in a magazine once and that's what I am, and it's not really that big of a deal, and that's just me, and that's fine. That's pretty much everyone. And then there's, I'm a feminist, how dare you deviate at all from the prescriptions of bell hooks or Gloria Steinem. That's what I mean. They're religious to the point where they can't see a complex human being in front of them. Everything has to fit in their box and their understanding, or else you're a monster.
Yeah.
But it also boils down to the person's just character and their values. I think politically you can be different, but have a core of values that could be quite similar. You can have a veneer that's different. Like someone could be a little more progressive leaning, someone could be a little more conservative leaning, but on the inside they may have core values of always put the person you love first. Family is very important. Generosity is very important. Being a good listener is very important. And I think when you have those sorts of qualities, in two people, you can still have a relationship that works rather well. I have friends of mine who are Catholic and who've married non-Catholics, and they have a great thing going on because they've made compromise. They're good communicators. Just don't settle for someone who's fucking nuts just because you don't want to be alone.
But it's not that they're nuts. It's that they have a hardcore religious belief that you don't subscribe to. That's the problem. And you don't want to be in a position where you are where you're trying to cure someone of their fanaticism at the same time you're trying to woo them. I personally don't think that's worked. It never worked for me. Beyond that, how you know you met someone special, in my opinion, it's because you feel very comfortable with them. And I don't know, there's just sort of a click that happens. There's certain chemistry that occurs. I don't think it's like, necessarily like you get hit by lightning,
no.
but it's sort of an immediately realization that you can really work with this person, and I think that's what's important.
Someone once broke it down to this is a bit of an over romanticized version, but being able to stand in front of someone else completely naked, psychologically, physically, whatever, and still being looked upon with delight, right? Even with all your flaws, everything else.
I heard that described some way, and it always sounds so weird.
I know. It does kind of sound, because you like when naked, hairy beer belly's like, you're awesome. I get it, but I guess
it sounds like a modern art project.
I know, right?
Behold the new Adonis.
Yeah, a hairy glass of beer with limbs.
Yeah.
I guess your soul being bared completely, flaws, virtues, everything, and still having someone see.
I think that's way too tall of an order, though, Helen. Most people don't.
Also, your partner is always going to be mysterious to you on some levels that you're never going to be able to see, right? You never truly fully know the person. Just keep going. Hold on.
Okay.
I mean, you can continue on with answering the question. I think
I've
we're
done.
Okay.
Hungry merchant for $10. Are you and your family prepared, or are already prepared for the Aquarian age? Well, this is truly an exciting time. We are witnessing a cataclysmic battle of the aeons. Well, if it's that cataclysmic, I don't know how we could prepare for it. We're legally gun owners, but I don't think that a gun's going to do much against the battling of the aeons. So, yeah, I don't know. The dawning of the age of Aquarius has been coming for a very long time, and I mean, I don't know. I just think change is sort of a constant in human history. I think that we had a long period of stability that, in the late 20th century that lulled us into an incorrect understanding of how things ordinarily would operate. Political change is the natural mode of human existence, and this period's no different. So, I mean, you're as prepared for radical change as you can be, right? Ryan for $5. Thank you very much. I agree that you can't throw off other races unless you are bourgeoisie. Is it at least okay to advocate for whites or for your own regional group? I think it's always okay to defend groups you belong to, whatever they are. If someone attacks a group you belong to, I think it's almost never improper to defend that group. Absolute anti-white bigotry really needs to be pushed back on, because it's not even like I'm personally offended. It's just plain disgusting. It's very gauche, and it's just disgusting. It takes people when people do this anti-white stuff, I ordinarily respect them, and then I suddenly disrespect them. A great example of this is the OG. Are you texting people?
No, they're texting me.
Oh, okay. The OG example of the anti-whiteness destroying my respect for a public thinker is, ironically enough, Hermann Hesse.
Who's that?
Hermann Hesse was a German author from Weimar, Germany.
Okay.
And I have half a video recorded on Shrek and Steppenwolf where he plays a large role, and I promise I'll finish it whenever I get time. That's not immediately consumed by other things. But this, I loved Steppenwolf when I was in high school, and I loved Siddhartha, and I loved Demian, and I was a huge Hesse fan. And then I read this short story, I believe it's called The European, which is like, it's basically like anti-white wokeism from the 1920s and 30s. It's like anti-white wokeism before anti-white wokeism existed. And I'm sure this was edgy and original when Hesse wrote it in 1925 or something. But I was just like, oh, so you're one of those people. And for a long time, I couldn't read any Hesse and take it seriously. But now it has the, in addition to being this kind of gauche generally to be a bigot, this anti-white stuff has the misfortune of being disgusting and also being fashionable. So it doesn't even come across as fresh, original, or particularly tenacious. It's just really, really stupid and something that idiots do to try to curry social favor.
To the point where the CDC is even doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Regarding vaccines.
It's just
is that how fashionable it is? Seriously?
Middling, mindless bureaucrats do this to get brownie points for their bosses, and it's already a disgusting practice.
Brownie points.
Well, I guess that is a pun now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your anti-white points we'll call brownie points. The more brownie points you get, the higher you are on the intersectional totem pole.
You get a badge, sewn onto your... Never mind.
You get brownie point badges for each intersectional group you belong to. Oh, I want the non-binary badge. Oh no, that's an easy badge. It's first level.
Give
me the ACAB. I like to flip off police officer's badge.
Yeah, I earned this badge if I get to kick one police officer behind the knee.
Oh, no way. Oh, good Lord. They would never be brave enough to do that.
Of course not.
We have neighbors
they like
that
to go behind civilians and hit them from behind.
We have neighbors that have this big BLM sign, and then underneath it, like where no one can see it from the road, they got this tiny little thing that says ACAV. Like, you can see it when you walk by it, but you can't see it from the street. So it's like they're proud about the BLM stuff, but they want to like sneak in their radical credentials under the radar where no one can judge them, and where like the cops aren't going to get angry at them. It's the most cowardly, disgusting thing in the world. Okay, sorry, I'm getting way too negative, and this is a holy night, so let's hopefully get on to something. Okay, where are we?
Oh, scroll up, right? Scroll up. Scroll up.
We're here.
Oh,
right?
On Ryan again?
The Wooster.
Oh, we've answered the Ryan one. Yes, okay. Yeah. The Worcester. Adultery is illegal for service members under the UCMJ.
Yeah, so he's saying that adultery is illegal for service members who are part of the military. But the example we gave was a general's wife committing adultery against him. So she would certainly not be bound by the UCMJ rules. So, I don't know what to say. Like, I mean, if she's not an enlisted person, I don't think she would be. But even if she was, you wouldn't start a war over personal issues. That to me, that's not responsible. But thank you, the Wooster. It's good to have that information and to keep it in mind to make sure that we're yeah. I mean, military cohesion, adultery is dangerous to that. So
we need right-wing cohesion, and when you have nasty women,
that's why we need to start a knife fight in public so that we can have cohesion.
Well, don't you think people who act against cohesion should be punished somehow?
But that's every person who disrupts cohesion thinks that the way to get cohesion is to have all their enemies kicked out, and then to have cohesion under their side being victorious.
Not kicked out, but shamed with the purpose of having them learn from their mistakes and rise up again anew.
You have no ability to make this person learn from their mistakes at all.
Do you have the ability to make me learn from my mistakes?
That's because I'm married to you.
But how do you do it?
You trust me, so when I say something, you listen to me. You don't have access to anyone this person trusts, therefore you can't positively influence them. This is the lesson of the internet, is that you can't... I had a number of people do things that I have considered to be unwise, and people oftentimes they'll come to me and they'll say something like, your internet friend is saying X. Don't you want to do an intervention to stop them from doing this? Sometimes it's about the dreaded word waifu, right? And I say to them, look, I can't convince people to not do things when I don't know them personally in real life. This has been a very bitter pill I've been forced to swallow across 4 years of doing this channel, and that is that personal interventions are almost impossible to do online, and as such, I don't do them.
This person, what they did, I don't take it personally at all. I don't, but I see, whenever I see hypocrisy... Hold on.
Of course you...
No, I don't. Whenever I see...
having this conversation.
Whenever I see hypocrisy and two-faced behavior, especially in women, I think it's disgusting.
The Catholic when signal goes up on the night sky, and
see me
the caved avenger has to come down and punish people for being prideful. Yes. And you are the instrument of that justice.
I am. One of the best compliments I've had recently is when your friend said I was a very sane woman. And I'm using that paradigm now.
He didn't hear you talk about this.
Sure he did. I brought it up and you're like, no, stop it.
Okay, this is getting a little too personal. Yeah, we gotta exit out of this conversation before things get too. Oh, it's almost time for
Okay, keep going.
Okay, shoulder can't be arched. It has to be okay.
Die Hard Doogie again. Personal conflicts are solved with duels. An officer would duel for personal reasons and not for matters of politics. Political conflicts are solved with war, treaty, or law.
Well, I mean, that was a good way of doing it in the 19th century. Maybe they'll go into that in The Duelist, right? But I believe The Duelist is about a person who duels for the sport of it, right? Not for personal offense. But yeah, I mean, there was a whole privatized rules of war developed for duels for the express purpose of segregating fights that were personal away from fights that would be political. And maybe that's needed again. Maybe there could be an online version of dueling. How would that even work? There was that one really hilarious thing where didn't Andy Worski challenge someone, was it Tonkasaw, to like a literal fight? Or Tonkasaw challenged Andy Worski to a literal fight.
And Tonkasaw never showed up.
Yeah, and was it Tonkasaw never showed up? Yeah. I mean, in a sense, if people could actually box, if duels were actually respected on Twitter, maybe a lot of our conflicts would be... I mean, it would certainly get skin in the game, wouldn't it?
I'd totally win this duel, though.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut about provisional concerns in that contest. Never mind. Why do we always have to do this innuendo? Alyssa Rollins for Australian $5. How do you deal with a loved one trying to deconvert you? I have found people, but they don't think I'm a rational person unless I'm an atheist.
Well, how much do they really love you? All right?
There was a period when my atheist relatives tried to dissuade me from following Catholicism because they felt threatened by it.
How did you cope with it?
I explained, well, to be quite honest, I said, I think this is really kind of insulting to my intelligence. Mm-hmm. When you keep on sniping at my religious faith like this, if you want to have a theological debate, like out and out, I'm open for it, but I just don't like these grievances against the Catholic Church being used as openers when I haven't seen you for half a year.
Yeah.
And, they respected that, and that kind of stopped it, right?
Yeah.
Usually most people don't want to have actual theological discussions. And most of the time, this quote-unquote deconversion comes in the form of passive aggression and usually mockery of your religion. That's really popular, especially if you're from like a Catholic or an evangelical tradition, where there's just been like 100 years of unimpeded, humor and parody, sometimes in bad faith against those religions. People will try to quote things at you, obviously with a point to them. And I would just kind of call that out as being immature and irritating, and then say I'm really open to an actual discussion if you want to have a heart-to-heart discussion or a debate. If you're not really a debate person and you don't want to have a heart-to-heart discussion, and those two things are very different, I don't know. I think if someone's constantly sniping at your religious faith, you just have to make it clear that you consider it an aggressive action, and that there would be better ways to address the difference of opinion. I think a lot of times atheists, they get away with this whole you're only rational if you're an atheist, because all of the religious people around them, they look like they're ashamed of their religion. This has been my experience, has been with atheists, that if you come out as confident and not overly aggressive, but with a little bit of aggression, and you're just like, okay, guy, look, I don't have the same beliefs you do. I disagree with a lot of your worldview as you disagree with mine. Now, do you want to make this an issue or not? Because I'm fine with whatever you want to do in that regard. The problem with this is a lot of Christians, they do two things. They kind of, a lot of evangelicals especially, find themselves in blue areas. They get kind of starstruck by blue culture, and they start apologizing for their faith. Mm-hmm. There's also this particularly, this is an evangelical and Catholic thing, is they try to be super nice to people, and they try to convert them by being super nice to them.
Oh, I hate that.
And
so phony.
It comes off as sycophantic. And those two things are what communicates the emotions of irrationality, because it sounds like you're trying to apologize for a belief you don't actually hold. I've never met an atheist who wanted to charge into a firmly held belief of mine and wanted to contest me for that in a debate. Once you sound confident, most atheists are kind of cowardly and they're scavengers, and they like to think of themselves as rational. And they don't want to actually have a dialectic of any kind. So I'd really call their bluff, or just communicate that you're not, that you do not consider the passive aggression or perhaps the overt aggression to be an amenable or friendly way of communicating. Nerve AMV Maker. In regards to Hoover tactics, he spied, blackmailed, and occasionally secretly arrested every communist he could find from 1919 to 1972. Even blackmailed MLK. Told him to commit suicide. Well, I have to say, again, to me, that's just a sign of weakness, isn't it, though? So let's say J. Edgar Hoover was an enemy of the cathedral, aka an enemy of the American mainline Protestant establishment, especially in the form of the leadership, culturally and politically, that came into power with the New Deal. So let's say he secretly arrested people on phony charges, blackmailed people, and encouraged people to commit suicide. He may have done that. It didn't seem to be particularly effective, because by 1972, communism as a philosophy, culturally speaking, was probably more situated inside the American psyche than it was beforehand. I just don't think that taking extreme action might be necessary for some prince to do on occasion. And I think that there is a theological discussion about whether that's ultimately justified. But insofar as these subordinate actors are concerned, and certainly insofar as it goes to us, civilians and citizens that have only minor political power, these outright evil acts never result in any kind of political advantage, and in the meantime, I think are quite. They can endanger your spiritual well-being. So, I would be very careful with that. But I get your point. Personally, I'd much rather have a leader just have a coup rather than blackmail people and tell them to commit suicide. I consider blackmailing people to be the instrument of the snake. I really don't want to be ruled by snakes, just if you're Patton or someone, just drive your tanks into Washington. I'd prefer that to blackmail, I'd respect it more, I should say, right? Not that I'm encouraging either. 2020 is a lame year. It says, Merry Christmas, ho, ho, ho.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone. We're coming to the end of the live stream, so probably have the super chats taper out a little bit, I guess.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, we should, because we want to start the music probably in about 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for the super chat. Well, that's a very generous super chat. Wow. Yeah. We should give let's give this money to charity, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure William Shatner will be thrilled.
We're not giving all, just because you gave to William Shatner for one charity doesn't mean that every single gift to charity has to be through William Shatner. I know some really good charities. What charity would you like to give this money to? I
actually would like to go on GoFundMe pages that friends have recommended and have more personal, being able to give to those situations. Okay,
but you should give the money in a one-time donation, right? Like, don't give like $5 a lot of places. Give like the whole block of $300-something to one place.
Wow. Well, you and I are going to have to discuss which place.
I'm perfectly happy letting you decide.
I'm happy with pro-life places or things that help pregnant women, support them, or young mothers just to support them.
I think that's a worthy cause.
I'm really big on those sorts of things, especially like Mary giving birth and.
I would totally do a debate with Vosh again if all the super chat money went to a pro-life cause. I would totally do that. I would.
Does he want to have a debate with you again?
No, I'm too small potatoes for him. I'm sure.
He is a living potato.
well, I mean, okay. I mean, we could argue how much.
Is he dating Shoe on Head yet?
If he's dating Shoe on Head, her dating prospects have taken a serious trip south. And that's not saying much coming from Armored Skeptic, but Okay, I'm sorry. Shots fired. Okay. I'm doing the exact same thing I told you not to do, so the leader has been revealed to be a hypocrite. The only difference is I know that she doesn't watch the stream, so.
Well, neither does what's her face.
No, okay. We're not doing drama, okay?
Okay. Timothy Smith, New Zealand dollars, $8.99. It's 8:30 p.m. Christmas Day here in New Zealand. Good night, Merry Christmas. Was able to attend Christmas liturgy. Oh, you're lucky.
Congratulations, it's all canceled here.
New Zealand looks so beautiful too. Why don't we apply for some jobs in New Zealand?
Okay. Oh.
I wasn't supposed to mention that.
Isn't New Zealand, like a woke central at this stage?
I don't know.
Isn't just I thought Australia and New Zealand are just simultaneously woke central and lockdown central.
Well, I think New Zealand did a great job containing coronavirus, didn't they?
Well, they're in, okay.
Well, I know they're in the Pacific island.
They're an island.
Yeah, so they've got some advantages. 2020 is a lame year for $2. Also just got back from Midnight Mass. We are jealous.
Oh, yeah, we're very jealous.
Midnight Mass is gorgeous, and everything's been canceled here. California's been completely
Dreadnought for $5. I'm heading to Midnight Mass.
Well, congratulations.
This is going to being joyful to being bitter.
Rub it in, yeah. Midnight Mass.
I like Midnight Mass. How's your Midnight Mass? Well, it's canceled in a 20-mile radius from us.
More than that.
Oh, yeah, it's canceled probably in a statewide.
Statewide,
yeah.
Sam, $153 for... Is that Canadian?
$50 Canadian.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year 2021. When do you plan the next distance?
The next distance officially is going to be after I release the next video, which I'm done with the audio. And now I need to get the the pictures in. And yeah, it's like an hour and a half video. I'm sorry, guys. I lost my ability to be concise. It's advice for people. Personal advice video. I felt it would be good ahead of the new year to release it. So I'll try to get that one done, and I'll try to finish the Shrek one. I know it's been forever. God, I've been promising that for like 2 or 3 months. And then the video that shall not be named, which is forever in draft.
The video on distributism? Were you about to hit me?
When have I ever hit you?
You've never hit me. You just said, when I said that your hand went whoop, and I'm like, oh. I think like take my nose or something.
Oh. Merry Christmas, everyone. God, this is what comes out of our mouths when we're so tired.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was Timothy, 2020 Dreadnought, Sam, Merry Christmas, when you the nest the Metal Horizon. Will the Church's schism end in our age or not? No, it's never going to end.
Well, I mean, like the Reformation, because the Reformation is the great schism that's dividing us still.
What about the thing with Pope Francis and stuff? Do you think that's causing a schism? Or is it just pissing off a bunch of Catholics?
It effectively is. It's causing a spiritual schism, if not a schism in fact. And that's going to have to be dealt with. I think that, this is the problem with this is the thing with the Catholic Church. No problem in the Catholic Church is ever beyond the power of one saintly pope to fix. If Cardinal Sarah is a total spiritual master and he proves himself to be a living saint and comes in after Francis and fixes all the mistakes and reconsolidates.
He'd have to be voted in, though.
Sure.
By the cardinals, right?
Yeah. And things like that have happened. Okay. The College of Cardinals is a very
fickle.
I won't want to say fickle because I believe unpredictable. I mean, here I am definitely departing from my normal materialist way of speaking and saying I do literally believe that body is guided by a spiritual entity. So you can, if you are someone of a secular persuasion, I know that sounds like woo woo, but I certainly can't call that fickle. But at any rate, we are getting to song time. What do you think? At 11:55 start the songs.
Sure. Well, I'm just going to play one to close.
Okay, sounds good. And then we'll just close the stream from there.
Yeah, sure. Lich Lord? Like Lord?
We have to get through the super
Godfrey. $20, thank you. Merry Christmas and thanks for all the content. I bought and am reading a heavily used copy of G.K. Chesterton's The Thing.
I've never read The Thing.
You haven't? Oh.
I don't even recognize that. It sounds like...
that movie that...
G.K. Chesterton and John Carpenter present The Thing, Catholic edition. It's a shape-shifting monster that can only be defeated by clever paradoxical observations about life and delightful discussions over a good hearty English ale.
I've never heard of that either.
That will cause its blood to leap up into the air and expose the shapeshifter as the heretical entity that it really is. Man, I'm tired. All of the various genres are melting together at this age. Oh, speaking of horror movies meets with Christmas, we did watch one Christmas movie together, which was Gremlins, right?
That was bad.
It wasn't bad. The scenes that I remember from childhood being good still held up. The problem is that the flow was really, really weird.
Yeah.
They couldn't decide who their main characters were. And so they waste all this time with these peripheral characters that, really don't make a difference ultimately. And when they really should be developing the core characters. If this was going to be, a romance between Billy and the plus one, right? They should have spent most of their time developing those characters, and they really don't. I don't know.
Zero Kev for $9.99. Merry Christmas to your family. Thoughts on the foreign policy of the coming Biden administration? What has become of the wokies when China Joe is in office? Also, why is Michael Malice creepy?
You think Michael Malice is creepy, right?
I actually stopped following him on Twitter because I thought he was kind of creepy.
He's got a creepy face, right?
Well, and he was kind of mean to his own followers, which is something I don't like.
Well, I'm mean to my followers, aren't I?
You are?
I don't know. Who knows? Probably.
Yeah, what day is it? Who are we? Where'd I put my false teeth?
Helen, don't make fun of my old man brain.
No, I'm making fun of myself too. My brain is mush. But what do you think about the foreign policy of Biden? Who? I think that immigration is going to be completely... as someone who just immigrated here, and it was so hard for me to immigrate here, just that thought really pisses me off.
They're gonna naturalize illegal immigrants.
It's gonna piss me off. I can understand people who came here as for a certain year and at a certain age, and if they were children, I can understand that. But I don't know, just any old person being naturalized, I don't know, man.
You should have stowed away into this country by means of a Tim Hortons truck.
Yeah, I know. I should have just, pissed on all the rules and just come here and stayed. I mean, I don't know. Never mind.
But that's not foreign policy. He means Middle Eastern foreign policy.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I think that this is going to be sort of a revealing element about the Joe Biden administration, as it was for me in the case of Pope Francis. Now, Pope Francis had a lot of defenders who were of a more progressive persuasion in the Catholic Church. But one way for me to always expose them, or expose in my means, my case was that Pope Francis isn't really a progressive, but somebody who puts political expedience before principle. And one way to expose that in the case of Pope Francis was his playing ball with the Chinese Communist Party's attempt to control the appointment of bishops inside China, which is a big no-no. And to my mind, the Pope Francis did not push back sufficiently on that, and in many ways caved. And progressives can't explain that. They can't explain if Pope Francis is this principled progressive and not just somebody who puts political expediency before principle. Why is he caving to the Chinese Communist Party? And in the same way with China Joe, if China Joe caves to the Communist Party, or if he takes us on another round of Middle Eastern adventures, all of a sudden, people either radical or moderate on the left who are wearing Joe Biden's t-shirts are going to look like unprincipled hacks by association. So I think, the foreign policy for reactionaries, it's very promising as a means of exposing the mainstream left as the frauds and political opportunists they actually are. Embarrassment is a very proper political tool, and I think that's coming down the lines. As ultimately for foreign policy, qua foreign policy, I have to confess not really caring about it that much. If I felt like I was at all in control of my own country, I might, be more concerned about the horrible things we're doing in other people's countries. But as such, I'm on this runaway train, and my priorities are stopping this runaway train. The fact that it's going to run into somebody else, while tragic, is not something that I can really do before dealing with the overarching problem of me not having control over the train. I don't know. Thoughts?
I'm trying to predict the future. I mean, with Biden, I think, you know what? For example, in Canada, we had Stephen Harper, and he was in office for quite a long time, but people were starting to really hate him to the point where they're saying he's like Hitler, and then they just wanted him out. They didn't give a shit who replaced him. And I think, and now Trudeau came in, and Trudeau is really embarrassing the country, embarrassing a lot of people, but I don't see a lot of people who were for Trudeau coming in actually saying anything about it. I don't know. I think people might be too proud to admit that Joe Biden would be a write-off. And I think he's going to abdicate, the presidency.
You think he's just going to die or retire?
I'm tired. I'm getting confused. This is going to go to Kamala Harris, and
But then what, is Kamala Harris going to, continue our wars in the Middle East and bow before China?
She'll spread her legs to China.
Just like Willie Brown. No, okay, we can't say that, can we?
Who's Willie Brown?
He was the mayor of San Francisco, and might have been a a stepping stone of sorts for the career of Kamala Harris, by some accounts.
Never sleep outside of commitment, people. Never sleep with people outside of commitment. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I think people like us.
There might have been a commitment, just not a sacramental kind.
I see. I actually don't think people like you and I, who really don't agree with him, I think we'll be able to live in peace, for a while. I think it'll take several generations.
Joe Biden?
Yeah, when Joe Biden, and this is a little...
I wouldn't make any promises in that regard.
Okay,
These
well,
people
I
are
can't
crazy.
I wouldn't make promises.
After this year?
Okay, I'm going to drop it. I don't really know enough. I'm a Canadian, so I'll just use that card and... okay, Elise Rollins, okay. I have a stupid question, but do you think the creature known as Leviathan, is that it?
The Leviathan.
The Leviathan has existed in history, or is just a metaphor?
Well, it's only referenced in a few places in the Bible, right? It's mentioned in Job, and it's mentioned in... Is it mentioned in the book of Jonah? I forget. I actually don't think it is. I don't know. I think it's an open question. I kind of doubt that there is this, huge monster that's lurking in the depths of the oceans. But this creature could be referencing some kind of cosmic entity. To be quite honest, I always imagined Leviathan like an elder god, kind of literally like Cthulhu, kind of perhaps more of a celestial demon than an actual sea monster of sorts, right? But who knows? Again, it's so it's just touched on in the Bible. It's like Nephilim, right? Like Nephilim appear in the Bible, but it's just like, and then this was like this, and it comes up, and it's never mentioned again. And so you have to wonder, like, okay, are Nephilim real? What are they? What is it even? Does it even matter? Are we supposed to ask these questions?
Well, why have so many cultures that may not have even touched each other have the same mythology regarding certain monsters? And it's very interesting,
Well, I think demons exist.
Yeah.
And there's certain... I was telling this to a friend. There are certain demonic forms that seem to repeat over and over and over again throughout mythology. Certain images of demonic forms. And, maybe the Leviathan is something like that.
Okay.
All right, let's go on because I'm
Sure.
getting really tired, and it's almost the end of the stream time.
Mr. Godfrey again regarding Chesterton for $5. Thank you. The thing in this context contains Chesterton's Fence allegory, published 1928.
Okay, I mean, I don't think maybe I did read that article, because I remember reading the fence allegory, so it must be one of the essays that I just forget about reading, but thank you for that clarification.
Okay, window flick.
Window
tick. Yes, for
Window
$10.
lick.
Window lick.
It's a reference to an Aphex Twin song called Window
I'm
Licker.
sorry. I completely
Don't you remember
fudged.
that song from Window Licker?
No.
You don't?
No.
Ooh.
I apologize. I couldn't see the screen. The text is quite
I
small.
don't apologize.
For
It's a good song, though.
Merry Christmas. I was just in the California area visiting a relative just a month ago before your governor went even more nuts. Got to climb some mountains at least. Hope y'all are doing well. Oh, that's nice.
That's very nice. The last thing we got to do outside in California was visit Sequoia National Park, which is...
Oh, that was awful. It was...
it was smoky.
It was in the middle of lockdown. We didn't think anyone would be there. We finally got a weekend to ourselves. It was in the middle of a heat wave, so it was like 104 up there. Extremely smoky and packed. I mean, it was so packed with people.
We were like the only white people there, too.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of Hispanics. So they were having fun.
Okay, but that wasn't...
Good for them. What?
Never mind. I don't notice. I think that's great that they're there, but what I was noticing was just like how we stuck out more than anything else, right? Never mind. I'll drop the topic.
Okay, I got really heat sick. Heat makes me sick. But this state, I have to say, as being new here, has a lot of really pretty places. I will admit. I'm glad you're able to climb the mountain and enjoy something about the state for sure.
Okay, hopefully this is our last super chat.
Okay, Lewis for $5 from Fresno with love. Hello.
Ooh, Fresno. Talk about a weird town.
Our midnight services are going on in biggest little city. Merry Christmas. Oh, lucky. Maybe I think it depends on the diocese as well. What some of the restrictions are.
Fresno is like literally bizarro world.
I've never been to Fresno.
It's just so strange. I don't know what makes it so strange. I remember a long time ago seeing a Nine Inch Nails concert there and thinking that it was the weirdest place I'd ever seen. It wasn't really a small town. It wasn't really a big town. And, there wasn't... It felt like there were like skyscrapers, but no other sign of commerce there. Oh. Just a really weird place.
Cool.
But anyway, okay, so this is the end of the stream. So
I'm going to play something on the piano. You don't have to stick around for that, but we will close with that.
But this is what we want to do to mark in. This is Christmas time in our time. Well, didn't we agree? Hark the Herald Angels sing?
Hark the Herald Angels sing. All right, here we go.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you, everyone, for watching, and we'll be having this song as a way to play in Christmas Day. I'll say a prayer here, both for good tidings and Christmas joy, and also that the baby doesn't wake up. Do you want to do one more verse?
Sure.